Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Aggie and I love anything spooky, weird, wonderful. Love that stuff. And today I thought we could watch a little bit together from the BBC, from the old BBC archives. And this particular video is from 1964 and it's a curious case of black magic in Norfolk. So let's have a look and see what's going on in Norfolk, shall we?
The relics of man's past, abandoned and crumbling churches, the decaying profile of a castle.
I'm stopping it already, but there's one thing that I absolutely adore about living in the UK, and that's the sheer amount of history that you see everywhere that you go. And he's right, there is something insanely haunting about seeing these buildings. And where I live, there is a lot of castles, and I'm very, very lucky for that. And every time I go for a walk around these areas and stuff, it gives me a strange feeling, like in my heart, to kind of sad, because I look at these amazing big buildings and I imagine the kind of life and importance they held at one time, and now they're just like a landmark more than anything. Do you know what I mean? It's a strange feeling. It's just like some of these bigger castles that are now ruins. I mean, they were strategic military points that were fought over for years, massive engagements. We're talking the huge siege engines, trebuchets, massive armies fighting over these places that you can walk up to now and it's just quiet. And you can sit with a coffee and just look out over wherever it might be. And it's a good reminder as well that everything passes. And no matter how much chaos there is at that time, eventually, no matter how much further down the road that may be, it will pass. But such places of violence and such places of importance and drama, but that yet there I sit, silly little piece of shit human with my cheap ass McDonald's coffee. you know?
They add a sad beauty to a landscape.
They do.
By day, they comfort us with the knowledge that this land has a history.
And that everything
But at
passes.
Night, when our superstitions are so much closer to the surface, they uncover our primitive fears.
Oh, yes, they do. See, look at that. It's just fabulous.
On the night of Friday, September the 13th, 1963, something strange happened in this place, the ruined keep of Castle Rising between King's Lynn and Sandringham.
Oh.
At dawn, a workman unlocking the door of the 800-year-old keep found this.
A poppet and a heart?
Two human effigies, the top one male, the bottom one female. And between them, a soot-blackened sheep's heart.
I didn't even notice the one at the bottom. Yeah, you've got one at the top, the sheep's heart with what looks like thorns, or yeah, kind of like thorny branches. And then the woman's at the bottom, both with a nail through. Ooh, and a sheep, and a blackened heart as well. Ooh, that's grim. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Pierced by 13 hawthorn twigs.
Oh, hawthorn. Ah.
And on the ground nearby, two...
Did you know as well that hawthorns are really good, like you can take elements from the hawthorn tree and it's actually really, really good for your blood and heart. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you can make like hawthorn tea, you can use the berries and stuff like that. And yeah, it's apparently meant to be very good for your blood and your heart. So, yes.
Symbols drawn in soot.
Oh.
4 months later, at the crumbling church of St. James at Borsey, about 3 miles south of Castle Rising, two King's Lynn schoolboys found this.
Well, what they find?
The sheep's heart pierced by hawthorn twigs.
Oh, okay.
But this time, no effigies. Instead, on the ground in the center of the bell tower, a black circle with a black candle.
I love the way he said that then. At the center of the bell tower. Now that is proper, proper fancy British, the belter.
At its centre. Here, just a few days ago, more symbols were found in another ruined church,
Oh.
Church, just a mile north of Castle Rising. An 11-year...
And again, look at that. I mean, does it not do the same to you as it does to me? It just gives me that feeling of just sadness. This place was obviously so important, whether you agree with that or not, because obviously, you know, like there's a lot of not the greatest things that sometimes came with these institutions back in these days, you know, but we're not talking about that today. That's maybe for another video when I'm feeling spicy. But you look at that and you just think to yourself, this place was such an important center of a community, and they put so much effort into building it and designing it, and then you look at it and it's just kind of like on its own in the middle of a field, because obviously, you know, as time passes, villages move, villages move, and epicenters, however you want to call it, they shift. And so there was probably a village very close, or, you know, surrounding this, and now it's just in the middle of a field, like on its own. And you think to yourself, I wonder how many kind of, you know, births, deaths, marriages and things like that ran through that church. And now there it is. It's quite a lonely figure, huh?
An old boy who had been fishing in the river came to explore the ruins of this church.
That's beautiful,
Once
that church.
the centre of a thriving village, a village that was probably wiped out by the plague or by malaria, the scourge of the fens.
I absolutely love reading about the plague and the Black Death. And there's a book called The Great Mortality, and I'm trying to remember who the author was. I'll put it in the description below once I remember, because I've got a copy of it knocking around here somewhere. And it is one of the most amazing and heartbreaking books I've ever read. The guy who writes it, he writes it in very kind of good, obviously it's historically accurate. I believe he's a historian, but he puts so much into it, where he paints the picture and he humanizes the picture, and he takes elements from actual kind of accounts from the time to build the picture. And it's fascinating, and it breaks your heart at the same time. And I know this is going to sound a little bit cheesy, but whenever I'm having a bit of a shit day, because, you know, we all get them, varying degrees, but when you're having a bit of a shit day, I always like to think back to some of my ancestors that have been through these situations and think to myself, okay, I'm having a bit of a shit day, but I still have hot running water, I've still got food in my fridge, I've still got, you know, a bar of chocolate I'm going to snaffle in a minute. But when I look back at these events, to be aware of these events and know that there are some people, you know, who have lived through some of the most horrific things in our history, and people who are, you know, in the world living through awful things as well now, but I'm obviously in the context we're talking about here. And it just provides that bit of perspective, and that's why I love history so much, because it gives you the perspective to know that, like I said, everything passes, and that the way that some of us have life now, it's good to reflect on people previously, you know, our ancestors, who didn't necessarily have some of the benefits that we have now. And it just helps you to keep yourself a little bit grounded and be a little bit more grateful.
And in the bell tower,
look at, can you imagine
he
all
found
oh
this. A wax female effigy, again with a thorn through its heart. Above it, a solitary black candle. And on the ground beneath, the now familiar sheep's heart.
Oh, poor sheep.
3 occurrences in 5 months. The work of a practical joker, a crank, or someone dabbling in black magic. And black magic is, after all, only the church ritual of the pre-Christian religion, the religion of Pan. This ritual can be used, as Christians use prayer, to invoke happiness, and then it's wiped.
Again, catch that. How Christians used prayer. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. But my opinion on looking at that is that it's very much real, because you get a feel again for things that are more towards the genuine heart, pardon the pun there, with everything that we're seeing, of witchcraft and things like that, and things that are more, I guess, would you say that neo witchcraft, where it's all a little bit more kind of, oh, please don't take offense anybody that does fall into this, but it's a little bit more performative. Whereas if you go back and you see things like what they're showing here, it's way more it's way more kind of dark, and it's way more based in nature and things like that. It's there's a different feel to it, and so for me, looking at that, I think that is more of somebody who is pretty serious with it and knows their stuff, as opposed to somebody who's just maybe a couple of kids who, you know, are going to grab a candle and later on that night, obviously not in this time, but going to go and listen to, I don't know, a bit of Slipknot and whatever. People are going through a bit of a hard time and are kind of drawn to certain things as an interim. That seems to me to be somebody who is way more walking the, is it walking the crooked path, I think they call it.
Or it can be used for evil purposes.
Evil!
As Christians use curses, and then it's black magic. But white or black, it's rooted in paganism. And these days, 1500 years after Christianity was really established in Britain, one doesn't expect to find anyone taking paganism seriously enough to go to the trouble of practicing its ritual in the spot.
Well, to be fair, I mean, paganism predated, my understanding is anyway, all of Christianity coming over here. And again, my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of the Christian churches were built over the pre-existing pagan, pagan sacred sites and places where they used to go to worship and do whatever it is at the time. And that was the whole point, is that they wanted to come over and completely erase what was already existing here, that they believed was more like heretical. And they just plonked pretty much all of their churches on top of those sites and said, right, we're here now, and yeah, tough shit. Which is obviously a real cunty thing to do.
Like this. And yet, this is Norfolk. And a part of Norfolk that remained inaccessible and cut off from England by the swamps and marshes of the fens. Even in this century, fenland villages remained which were totally enclosed communities, where traces of pagan superstition and ritual were preserved. The writer, F.R. Buckley, has made a special study of the subject.
That is totally a writer's name, F.R. Buckley.
This is the work of a practical joker, even if rather a macabre practical joker, of some crank or of somebody who really believes in black magic.
No, I rule out the practical joker, absolutely.
Same here.
You see, in the first place, the practical joker wants to see the result of his practical joke. He wants it before the public. Now, all these manifestations have been in very retired places. They were only discovered by chance.
No, that's true.
In the second place, the chap who did it, or the woman who did it, I rather think, knows the symbols.
Yeah, that's true.
In the third place, the whole thing, in my view, works up into a perfectly logical story. One manifestation follows the other. And then, of course, of the two areas in England where I would expect this kind of thing to happen, the Cotswold is one, but this, even more, is another, because through the ages, Norfolk has been riddled with witchcraft.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
The symbols, a male symbol and the female symbol.
It's a circle.
They're done in soot here. They should be in the ashes of the witch's fire. We'll come back to them in a minute. But this, the castle door, was the display they had on here. This was the important thing. If you wouldn't mind holding that for me. Now, the setup was this. You had here the male figure.
Is he going to say something along the lines of it's maybe a love, a, I know it's going to sound cheesy if I'm wrong, but is it some kind of love spell or binding thing that they're doing? Because they have the man, then the heart, and then the woman below. You know, it could be a curse or something like that. It could be a pissed off ex or whatever who just wants to potentially cause harm to, you know, a lover after being wronged. I mean, God knows it happens enough. But yeah, that's where I'm hedging my bets. It's something to do with love.
There, with the hawthorn spike through his heart.
And hawthorn
Here
is good for the heart,
you have
so.
the sheep's heart, with 13 hawthorn twigs driven through it. And here you have the female figure, also pierced through the heart with hawthorn twigs. Now,
Or unlucky
this,
in love
in
or
my view,
something?
amounts to a public statement of the case. The castle door is the most public place. It's the center of the district, you see. We have here this female figure, the heart and veil, all pierced. And this, I think, amounts to this. This man and this woman, I allude to them as the man and the mistress, are having an affair.
Ooh.
And the girl in the case doesn't like it.
The girl who put them here.
The girl who put them here, yes. And she wishes to break up this affair, and she's trying to do it by witchcraft. I should imagine she's a woman probably in her 20s, and possibly being advised to this course of action by an older woman who inherits an old tradition from some village in the Fens, you see.
Oh, okay.
This wishes that pain shall come to his heart. Pain shall come to her heart. And the pain has come to the heart of the postulant, that is to say, of the girl. These things were put up here at the waning of the moon. That means...
See, I just find that fascinating. There's so much, I know it's creepy, granted, but there's so much meaning that goes into these things. You know, the meaning of like when you have the fact that, like he was saying, it's put on the door because a lot, you know, that was the place where it was like putting out a public notice. It's a symbol of, you know, like telling the public, and they used to obviously put notices on the door. And there's the famous case of, is it Martin Luther that put his you know, put his message on the door, and obviously that kicked off a lot of stuff. So it's like you have all of the symbolism around the door, the symbolism around obviously the man and the woman, the symbolism in where they're placed, then the symbolism of the heart, and then the things that come with nature, like with the hawthorns, which were all centered around the heart and heart health and things like that. And then you have obviously the soot, the burnt heart. You know, it's absolutely fascinating. Just all the symbolism that goes into this. It's like telling the story of what's going on, and obviously the intention of the person of what their intention is that's going behind it. I'd be curious as well if he's got an explanation for why there's one up in the church or something. Maybe it's the woman who's doing this. Maybe it's her kind of, because there was a candle there. Maybe it's her trying to pray to, or do some sort of, I guess you could call it praying, to increase the virility of the spell. I don't know. Let's have a look, see what our lovely author says.
That the affair, as the moon wanes, so will the affair wane. She hopes. And the position of this heart, juxtaposed to the female figure, in my view always, means that she blames this affair on the mistress in the case, who is quite possibly, I should think, an older woman. And you have there the statement of the case, the protest, in other words, which is here publicly made.
And isn't it always the bloody case that the woman gets blamed? Not always, but you know what I mean. It's one of those things, isn't it? Say if you've got a married man who decides that he wants to step out on his wife, And then it's always the mistress that gets blamed in those circumstances. And it's like, yeah, okay, granted, she's not without issue and judgment on that one. But he's the one that's betraying. You know what I mean? He's the one that's got the binding agreement before God to be loyal and all of that stuff that comes with marriage. But then it's always like, oh, the mistress. And us women, we're terrible for it. Not again, not all, but a lot of women will just zoom in straight to the other woman. And it's like somehow the guy just kind of gets off with just a little bit of shit. I don't know. We're strange creatures.
Maid on the castle, did she expect it to be a spell on the man and the mistress?
Yes, that's the idea. She's trying to bring out a breakup of the love affair and the transference, she hopes, of the man's affections to her. I should imagine that he is a younger man of her own age who is probably being seduced by an older married woman.
Ooh, saucy.
Which isn't the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
Now, the second manifestation took place in this ruined church here at Borsey, which is an absolutely isolated situation about 3 miles from Castle Rising, situated on a little eminence in the middle of ploughed fields, in a very bleak and completely abandoned situation out of all...
That's beautiful though, isn't it?
Intercourse, you might put it.
And that's another thing, like when you look at that and how old some of these ruins are, it makes me a little bit sad, because when I look around at a lot of the structures that we have today, like we just don't build things like this, really. And I mean, I don't think that there's going to be any, not, obviously I can't say 100%, but I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of modern structures around in like 200, 300, 400 years, because they're just not built in the same way. And I think another thing that we've put aside a lot of just beauty for practicality nowadays. And I understand it, it's just, it is what it is, but you look around and you just don't have this kind of workmanship. And I mean, obviously this is beautiful to me, and it's a ruin. It must have been in its heyday just absolutely stunning. I mean, you just look at the front here, and this would have been a massive, like, I assume, stained glass window with all of the different designs in it. Inside of a lot of these churches, I think they tended to paint them white, and then they'd have like big murals, so they were quite colourful, a lot of them, from what again I understand. And it's just, I just don't see that a lot of the buildings we have now are going to still stand the test of time in the same way that these have, Well,
now here we have a totally different situation. We have the heart pierced, lacerated and pierced by these hawthorn twigs, nailed to the wall of the central tower. There are no mommets at all.
That's the effigies.
That's the effigies. There are no mommets. And
mommets, that's a word I haven't heard before.
The heart is this black candle.
I just know them as
which
like
found
poppets.
In a soot circle about 5 feet away, under the exact center of the tower. Now, of course, in my view only, there are many interpretations of this kind of thing. The venom, which was so obvious in the other case, has now evaporated. The girl is saying, "My heart's broken. Please send him back to me."
Aww.
This, of course, the candle in the circle, constituting a very well-known sexual symbol in witchcraft, which Dr. Freud has taken over since.
So here she wasn't trying to wish any evil on either the man or his mistress.
No, she was simply praying, in one view of it, that he would come back to her, or in another view of it, she was making an offering in view of the fact that he had come back to her. In any case, a much more cheerful outlook than the other one was. The third incident happened only a week ago, here at Babingley Church, about a mile the other side of Castle Rising.
I don't know whether this is, they're going right across all of the fens, or whatever you call it.
Incident, on a waning moon. Well, I don't think that anywhere in England you find any place more sinister than this. Ever since I've been down here, I've been expecting something like this to happen.
Oh.
And now, sure enough, it has.
What, the witchcraft or something else? But whoever it was is determined to get through that in the dark.
At midnight, with a waning moon, because she had to have a waning moon for this particular spell. A desolate place like this.
Yeah.
Well, whatever may be the matter with her, she's certainly got plenty of guts.
That's true.
In this case, as in the others, we had the lacerated heart on the floor there. And here on the wall of the tower, we had this female effigy with a thorn driven through its heart. And on the wall above it, this black candle. That's something I don't like to see at all, because this is an out-and-out death spell.
Oh.
Nothing else to it but death. Whoever's casting the spell or trying to wishes this woman to die. Now, of course, anything I say about the circumstances of the people involved is speculation. Whether the woman has got, the girl has got her man back and wishes to revenge herself on the mistress, or whether the man, after the apparent reconciliation,
has gone back,
went back to the mistress and she's trying to kill her, I don't know. But in any case, it's a terrible thing to see, because it means that in this community somewhere, whether it's a young woman, whether it's an older married woman, we have somebody going around with this terrible emotion smoldering in our heart. And it's finally come to this. The flower-crowned religion of Pan has come to this. And
yeah, but I mean, that's love, you know? It's, people throw the dice when it comes to love, because if you win, in inverted commas, then the payoff is great. But then if you lose, the payoff is hideous.
Of course, there's one other consideration which I think is bad, and it is that a person who is unbalanced, because anybody who would monkey with this kind of thing is unbalanced, finding that this doesn't do the mistress a pennyworth of harm, which I'm quite sure it won't.
Oh, you never know.
Might resort to other means.
That's true. Well, I hope whoever was involved in that found their way out the other side. Love is a very tricky thing, and obviously it's got the power to bring you to the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And I hope that whatever was going on here was just, you know, maybe it helped that person work their way through it psychologically, maybe. You know, you can always hope that. But we'll never know, because whoever it was, I don't think they ever found out. But so yeah, but I love this kind of stuff. I love this proper, like, oldie spooky stuff where you've got, you know, these young jilted women sneaking through old rubble of old churches to light a candle in the dark to curse a lover. I mean, the kind of stories there, oh my gosh, it gives me goosebumps. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my video today, and I will see you again. Bye!